16 years Dave Craig played for Seattle. Sunday, he played against them, and the Falcons saw teammate Deion Sanders back where he belongs, inside the NFL.
I'm Brian Burwell. Miami linebacker John Offerdahl plays a role in South Florida's recovery from Hurricane Andrew in this week's cover story.
Hi, I'm Chuck Muncie. One season I led the NFL in touchdowns. Stay tuned for Where Are They Now?
Break up the Tampa Bay Bucks. We speak later with the head coach of one of the most improved teams in the NFL, Sam Wyche, on NFL Crosstalk. And now, inside the NFL, pro football's most informative hour, with your hosts, Glenn Dawson, Nick Bonacati, and Chris Collinsworth.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's show. Chris and Nick, our viewers know that there are 9 teams with new head football coaches. The fans in those cities give them 1 week to prove themselves. We're lenient here on HBO's Inside the NFL. We give them 2 weeks, and after 2 weeks, we find that there are 3 coaches that are 2-0, 3 that are 1-1, and 3 that are 0-2. Nick, of those 9 coaches, who grabbed your attention?
You know, Lenny, Tampa Bay has no place to go but up. Many people thought their owner, Hugh Culverhouse, was crazy when he went out on a limb and he hired a much-maligned Sam Wyche. On the other hand, Sam Wyche, he took a shot when he stuck with Vinny Testaverde at quarterback. But you know something? So far, the honeymoon looks like it's going to work out.
Well, in Seattle, Tom Flores made a mistake when he let Dave Craig go. For years, the people of Seattle blamed Dave Craig for not getting that team to the next step, to the Super Bowl. But now it's becoming apparent that Dave Craig may be the only reason that that team was even competitive.
Folks in Kansas City are saying thank you, Seattle, for thinking that way, because the Chiefs feel that Dave Craig is the missing piece of that puzzle that will take them to the Super Bowl. Because Marty Schottenheimer, he doesn't ask the quarterback to win the game for him. He just says, please don't lose it.
Hey, the Pittsburgh head coach, Bill Cowher, he coached under Marty Schottenheimer. As a matter of fact, Lenny, he's a Schottenheimer clone. Their philosophy exactly the same. Run, run, run. So far, Pittsburgh has run almost twice as much as they have passed so far this year. And rock-solid defense. They love that defense. They've intercepted 9 passes in 2 ball games, and they've beaten 2 playoff teams of last year, Houston and the Jets.
Well, the Steelers are on their way up. How about those poor 0-2 Packers? Someone asked the head coach, Mike Holmgren, where do you need help? And he said, everywhere. They're checking that waiver wire every day, trying to find a player that can help that team. They got a lot of holes to fill.
Yeah, the Packers have been an ugly 0-2, but I've been impressed with Bobby Ross's Chargers. Even though they're 0-2, Bill Arnsparger's defense can play with anybody, and if they do a better job offensively of protecting Stan Humphries and just catching the football, I believe that can be a wild card team this year.
You'll be happy to know a lot of people agree with what you say. The odds makers say that the 0-2 Chargers should beat the 2-0 Steelers this week. You want to see action? There were 69 touchdowns scored last weekend. The Eagles scored their share against the Cards. John Elway led a Bronco comeback. The Rams recorded the only shutout of the day, and the biggest offensive explosion happened where else? Candlestick Park.
If you want the drop on last week's 49ers-Bills game, pay no attention to Jerry Rice's pregame blunder, because it didn't foreshadow anything. Instead, it was the oft-overshadowed Pete Metzelaars who started the third quarter in much the same way the first half had gone, flat out and pointedly successful.
Is in for the touchdown. He broke the plane of the goal line.
Metzelaars' second score gave the Bills a 27-24 lead. It didn't last long, as Steve Young's second scoring strike to John Taylor not only gave him more than 400 yards passing, but more importantly, the 49ers the lead.
On the play is the wide receiver Taylor. John Taylor breaks a spectacular play.
The teams traded scores and the lead seemingly at will, and in a testament to offensive prowess, the teams combined for nearly 1,100 yards of offense.
He does. He runs right at the 5 and in for the touchdown. It is Thurman Thomas for the touchdown, and the Bills have taken the lead.
Ironically, however, the only game in NFL history without a punt was nevertheless decided by the kicking game. With their victory, the Bills stand solidly atop their division. While at 1-1, San Francisco remains knowledgeable about faults, where kicker Mike Koper's confidence is decidedly shaky. In Anaheim, Rams fans weren't sure what to expect from the home opener. Last season, the Rams had a league-low 17 sacks. Against the sad sack Patriots, they collected 7. En route to their first shutout in 4 years, the Rams also intercepted 4 passes, the last of which set up Cleveland Gary for all the points the Rams would need.
Second down, it comes to Gary to the left, drives inside the 5, still driving, still driving, still driving, touchdown! Great play by Cleveland Gary.
Having played in 2 drubbings already, the young season has been feast or famine for the Rams. But it's a different story in Mile High, where it's always a movable feast, thanks to John Elway. But while Elway isn't sewn into the pocket, he needn't scramble to have other teams on the run. Against the Chargers, Elway didn't exactly sizzle, but he did deliver a couple of bolts out of the blue. The Chargers answered in kind, actually outgaining Denver in passing yards, and Ronnie Harmon's one-handed catch helped San Diego get a leg up on the Broncos.
Humphries, bootleg to the right, looking to throw, pulls up, throws, caught, touchdown, San Diego!
Nate Lewis's score gave the Chargers the lead, but Elway followed with his second touchdown pass of the day, this time to Shannon Sharp. At 2-0, the Broncos are once again in the rarefied air of first place, but truth be told, they've hardly been a soaring studies of supremacy. And if the Broncos hope to remain in the area of the AFC West, they'll have to raise their level of play to match their next opponent, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Randall's back. He's looking. He's floating it to the end zone. Touchdown, Calvin Williams!
While the Eagles were enjoying Randall's return from injury, the Cardinals were forced to use backup quarterback Chris Chandler for the second time in as many weeks. And in the spirit of substitution, the Eagles traded tackling for chasing, as Ernie Jones waltzed through the Eagles secondary to give the Cardinals a 14-10 lead. It didn't last, thanks to the most accurate passer in the league.
How about some play action here? Let's see. Cunningham straight back. He is floating it for Barnett. Touchdown! First and 10, ball near the 30. Cunningham back. He's loading up. He's going deep down the far side. In full stride is Arkansas Fred at the 5. Touchdown! The Eagles have exploded.
Cunningham's easy athleticism belies the TNT in his right arm. And if the first 2 games are any indication, Randall is back. The league's best defense never left.
He's looking now. He's being chased. He is being hit. He tries to throw the ball. It's intercepted. And running in for...
Having already knocked one quarterback out of the game, Gangrene seemed content to add insult without further injury. At 2-0, the Eagles are undefeated and undaunted heading into next week's showdown with the Broncos.
The Philadelphia Eagles take on the Denver Broncos on Sunday at Veterans Stadium. This showdown will match up 2 of the 9 remaining undefeated teams. And gentlemen, it also matches up 2 of the most athletic quarterbacks in the history of the game, Randall Cunningham and John Elway.
Yeah, and John Elway has become a one-man offensive show for the Denver Broncos. They have no running game whatsoever to speak of. When you take out the times that Elway has run the football himself, the Broncos have been averaging less than 40 yards per game on the ground. And given the way the Philadelphia Eagles get after the quarterback, if the Broncos don't have a running game, it could be a painful experience in Philadelphia for John Elway.
You know, Chris, I think the Denver defense should go into this ball game with a lot more confidence. The reason Randall Cunningham is not scrambling, he's staying in the pocket. Cunningham used to kill teams when he came out of the pocket and made the big plays. But against Denver, Denver now can tee up and go after him. And with their great linebacker, Mike Kroll, I think they can add to the 10 sacks that Cunningham has suffered in the first 2 ball games.
Oh, so you're picking the Broncos. Listen to this.
No, I don't think I'm going to go overboard because John Elway said he's getting hit so much so far this year that if it continues this way, he will not make the season. John, all I can say is button up tight, send out an SOS, I like the Eagles.
Also, if you see John Elway looking to his left a lot more than usual this week, that's because he has a rookie offensive left tackle, Russell Freeman. And John is right-handed. That's his blind side. And Russell's going against all-pro defensive lineman, Clyde Simmons. And he's just coming off a 3-sack game. So I got to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. Chris, what about you?
Yeah, and the Broncos aren't going to be able to tee off against Randall Cunningham, and that's because of the job that Herschel Walker's been doing running the football. 2 straight 100-yard games, and he has finally given the Eagles that balanced offense that they've been looking for. I like the Eagles in this one.
You know, if Elway thinks the Eagles are going to be tough, just wait, because his schedule calls for him playing 3 other teams in that NFC East. Super Bowl champion Redskins picked up their first victory of the year, and Minnesota coach Dennis Green picked up his first loss. The 2 teams that dominated the 70s, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Dallas Cowboys, are staging revivals.
Jimmy Johnson was itching to win for the first time in New York, and he was out to prove his Cowboys' performance, which was head and shoulders above Washington's, was no fluke.
Sean Landetta will punt. The kick right, the punt. Robert Williams at the 4, rolls to the goal line. Touchdown, Cowboys.
In 2 games against the last 2 Super Bowl champs, Dallas has dominated on special teams, defense, and offense. With the royal family proving to be a tighter unit than New York's defense, the Cowboys raced to a 34-0 lead.
Deep ball left side, caught and fair, spinning away over at the 15 to the 10, toward the goal line. Touchdown.
New York fans could only dream that their Giants decided to call it quits for this game and begin preparation for the Bears. But led by Phil Simms, the Giants' offense finally awoke.
Behind Sims again. This time McCaffrey's in motion. Sims is looking in the end zone. He throws. Touchdown, Baker.
Sims led the Giants to 28 second-half points, more than they've scored in any of their last 21 games. But in the end, Dallas hung on. After several years of being kicked around, the Cowboys are getting their kicks.
The snap, the kick on the way, and it is no good.
No good summed up the play of New York's other winless team in Pittsburgh.
O'Brien's back again. Uh-oh, his pass is picked off. This is Larry Griffin coming down the field with the ball. He's to the 30, the 20, the 10, the 5.
The Jets turned the ball over 7 times and allowed Barry Foster to rumble for 190 yards and 2 scores. The best performance by a Steeler back in 22 years.
Foster running the right, coming down the sideline, the 40, the 35, the 30, running for dear life, the 20, the 15, the 10, the 5, hit into the end zone.
Pittsburgh's Barry surprisingly leads the NFL in rushing, but Detroit's Barry still made some moves to marvel at Sunday. It seems the cardboard Sanders used up all the moves, as the real one was held to just 66 yards. But that didn't mean Lions fans weren't treated to a mighty performance by a mighty Mike.
And a bad kick as Mel Gray fields on the run at the 45. He's to midfield. 45 got a block to the 40, off to the races 30. Cut near side 20, now to the 15. Weaving his way to the end zone. Touchdown, Lions. Oh my, Mel Gray goes 55 yards for the touchdown.
5'9" Mel Gray made the Vikings look like a skeleton of their former selves. And after a ball-jarring hit by Mike Kofer, a ball with plenty of meat on his bones bounced into the end zone.
Left side, and he's pulled down. Great tackle made there. Fumble. Kofer made the tackle. Ball picks it up on the run and scores.
Jerry Ball's touchdown and plan for economic reform has him a favorite in Michigan this fall. Ball plans to take these potato heads to meet the Vice President Sunday at a seminar for improved higher education. And while Ball's in the nation's capital, he and his teammates will tee it up with the world champs.
Play like on Tuesdays on our off days. Yeah, maybe Friday afternoon. Yeah. Talking golf here, man. This guy can play. No, he's the man. He's the man.
Back in the swing of things were 2 of Atlanta's superstars.
Showtime prime time. You know what that means? Hey, it's New Year 92. What time is it? Showtime prime time. Okay, we're back.
And back home looking for a win was Washington.
Come on. Listen, we're not getting paid to play. We're getting paid to win. Now let's go out and get right after, right on the start here. Knock them back out the other end. Let's go, baby. Let's go.
It was a play known as Purple Throwback, and it made every team in the NFL green with envy that Washington has Desmond Howard.
45. Throws it across to Desmond Howard. He's the far side 50. He scoots to the 40. Uh-oh, watch out to the far side 20, 15, 10, cuts back. Touchdown, Washington Redskins. Oh, was that fun? The rookie's first touchdown on a 55-yard return.
Hey, you ran like a big boy.
That was wide open over there, wasn't it?
Razzle dazzle, the flea flicker, and suddenly the Redskins are at 14-zip. Deion Sanders back deep for the Falcons. Prime time to the 10, up across the 15, to the 20. Cuts outside to the 25. He's off to the races. He's at the 50. He's at the 40. Kiss him goodbye, baby. Deion scores the touchdown. Unbelievable.
What an amazing athlete. He just ran for extra bases. And we have just seen back-to-back kick returns for scores.
Bunch of damn turkeys. Put somebody in that wants to hit.
In a second quarter that seemed to have everything but a tackle, Mark Rippon found Gary Clark to give Washington a 21-7 lead.
Lob it up high for Clark. Grabs it. Touchdown, Washington Redskins.
And while Redskin fans celebrated the apparent return to form of their quarterback,
I'm beating, hitting, and every time I beat.
the Redskins tried to find a way to get to Atlanta's.
That lineman doing, he's cutting you. Then when you get up, you got a back to that waiting on you. No, a lot of times he didn't even cut me. I got by him. As soon as I got by him, I'm licking my chops. That's it. And here goes the back.
Kurt Govea was licking his chops on this blitz, but a clutch block by Houston Hoover helped pull Atlanta to within 7.
As time goes deep down the field, there's Haynes at the 50-yard line. He's down to the 40 of the Redskins, to the 30. Michael Haynes could go. He beats Green. Touchdown, Falcons.
Michael Haynes did the impossible and ran away from Darrell Green, and trailing by 7 late in the fourth quarter, Jerry Glanville's Falcons still had a shot at an upset.
Third down and goal from the 9 for the Falcons. They can tie the game with a score. He's back to pass. Looks over the middle. Picked off. It's
Kurt Govea was denied on his earlier blitz, but no one could prevent him from wrapping up the Redskins' first win. Atlanta still has never won in Washington, and neither has the Redskins' next opponent, Detroit. For the rookie, it was time to savor this win.
Oh, man, you know, I told them guys at WKYS that I was going to take one back this week. So I hope they watch it. Let me know if you
For the veterans, it was time to look to next week.
You know, Detroit is a team that's gone through a heck of a lot of adversity in the last year and a half. Their team, obviously, with a lot of heart. They beat Minnesota pretty badly today, and, you know, they'll come in here fired up.
You just saw Jeff Bostic talk about their game this week with the Lions. Bostic has a very difficult job, and that is he's got to handle all-pro nose tackle Jerry Ball. But, Nick, they've got other problems with that Detroit Lion football team. How about Barry Sanders? They got to find a way to stop him. They're going to have to do it without the services of their all-pro cornerback, Darrell Green. Darrell is out for several weeks with a broken arm. How do you see this game?
Well, Lenny, I think the Washington line, offensive line, is going to have problems with the Detroit line and linebackers. I think they match up very well. And like I said, Jerry Ball is a tough nose tackle. And with him in there, they are going to stuff Washington's favorite play, the counter tray. I firmly believe that this game rests on the shoulders of Washington's quarterback, Mark Rippon. But if he plays the way he has in the past 2 ball games, Washington will lose.
Well, the Lions weren't a good pass rushing team a year ago, and they're not this year either. Only 2 quarterback sacks in 2 games. And in watching these 2 teams play a year ago, I thought the biggest difference was the mismatch between the good Redskins offensive line and the porous Lions defensive line. And given the way the defensive line of the Lions has been playing so far this year, that gap may be widening.
You know, you're right about the offensive line of the Redskins being their strength. Bear in mind also, this is a veteran team. Veterans can do what? They can make adjustments during the course of the game. And I think that the Redskins offensive line will make the adjustments. They'll even be able to block Jerry Ball. I look for Washington to win this football game. Nick, you said if Rippon plays a bad game, they will lose. You think he'll play a bad game?
I think Mark Rippon is going to rebound, Lenny. I think he is going to play long ball with his great receivers, and I think Washington wins.
Yeah, Rippon should be ready to play now after that holdout. Last year against the Lions, he completed 75% of his passes. I see no reason why anything different should happen this year. I like the Redskins too.
So we all agree. Nick, I want to ask you something, because this is what you went through, and that is Hurricane Andrew. You went through it. What's your thoughts?
Lenny, everybody in Miami was affected by Hurricane Andrew, but the great thing is the whole country responded to that devastation, and because of that, Miami will rebuild. Absolutely right. Thank you very much. An NFL team does more for its community than entertaining football fans. It was never more evident than when Hurricane Andrew hit. Brian Burwell reports on the Miami Dolphins' offering of help.
On a glorious Sunday afternoon with 70,000 people screaming your name, it's easy to understand how a football player can be confused into believing that what he does is somehow a life and death struggle. Well, 3 weeks ago, that very narrow view of the world changed forever for John Offerdahl and his Miami Dolphin teammates when they were confronted with the reality of a true life and death struggle, the catastrophe caused by Hurricane Andrew.
There aren't many times that football is secondary to Don Shula, but this is the first time that I can remember that anything outside of the family put football secondary. And this devastation, this destruction was so devastating that, I mean, it was hard to just comprehend, and your heart went out for these people that were affected.
About 250,000 people were affected in one of the worst natural disasters in U.S. history. Anticipating widespread food shortages, Dolphin linebacker John Offerdahl and employees at his bagel company worked overnight and were part of the first relief effort wave to hit the ravaged areas.
We were kind of shocked by the damage, but the further we drove into it, the worse it got. And by the time we got to the center of the storm where the eye passed through, we really weren't talking, we were just looking.
At that point, there was not that much relief going into South Dade. Now, there's plenty of food out there, but at the very beginning, when Offerdahl went down there with his 6,000 bagels and his 15 employees and whatever, that was very necessary.
Offerdahl made more visits to the hurricane zone, this time joined by many members of the Dolphins organization. To most of these young millionaires, it was a sobering blast of reality, a vivid, everlasting memory.
It's kind of like living across the tracks from a ghetto. You really never exposed to it, you never touch it or feel it until you go down there. You know, you can remove yourself from that type of lifestyle, and you really have nothing to worry about, nothing to lose or gain by just avoiding it. But when we went down, and teammates who have, you know, a lot of things to be thankful for went down there, we realized how fortunate we were, but then again how unfortunate so many people were, and that we were in a position to help them and to, you know, touch a lot of their lives.
Football was no longer so important. Human survival was. Catastrophe and recovery overshadowed everything, including a 10-month comeback from a potential career-ending knee injury that halted Offerdahl's '91 season after just 6 games.
It definitely showed me the same thing I think it showed Coach Shula. You go down there and you just see it, people's lives are devastated. And here, you know, football is just this job for us, job that, you know, us football players take seriously, and I know Coach does too, but when you find people's lives, everything they've worked up to and for, ruined in, you know, one night's worth of storm, just really shook my wife and I and the people that went down there.
Yet most of Andrew's victims tried not to feel so down. They simply got up and moved on.
It's hard, it's not easy, but, you know, if you get down, like, you feel sorry for yourself, you feel sorry for everybody else, you're not going to do anything. Life goes on. Life goes on.
From afar, it might seem obscene mentioning football in the same sentence with this hurricane, but football has become a pleasurable distraction for some of Andrew's survivors. And for the athletes responsible for that distraction, men like Offerdahl and his Dolphin teammates, well, if they didn't appreciate all their blessings before, now, more than ever, they surely do. Wherever you go in South Florida, whether it's hurricane-ravaged Homestead or here in the historic Orange Bowl, a rebuilding process is going on. And rebuilding is something that the Dolphin defense clearly understands. But they know that their refurbishing project has gotten just a bit easier now that John Offerdahl is back in their starting lineup.
The American Red Cross is providing assistance to the victims of Hurricane Andrew. You can help them by making a donation. Please call the number on your screen. That's 1-800-842-2200. Now remember, it is extremely hot in southern Florida, so if you can donate summer clothes, bug repellent, toiletries, canned goods, believe me, it would all be greatly appreciated. I appreciate Gary Myers coming on this show each week, giving us that inside information. I'm sure you have been busy ever since last week that jury in Minneapolis declared that Plan B free agency was illegal. What's been the fallout, and what's the owner's next move?
Well, Lenny, the first casualty of last week's ruling will be expansion. The NFL had planned to expand by 2 teams in 1994, but that's not going to happen now. Basically, what the owners are going to say to the players is, if you continue to sue us around the country, we're not creating 120 new jobs for you. Also, they don't want to expand while there's some labor unrest. They don't want new owners coming in the league in that climate. And another 400 jobs were lost on Thursday when the league decided to suspend World League operations for a year.
There's something else that came down after that decision. 10 players who were under contract with clubs but couldn't come to an agreement on what they should sign for decided to sue the National Football League. Among those players, All-Pro tight end Keith Jackson. They say, we want free agency. We want it now to sign with any club. What's the status of that?
Well, they might find out on Tuesday if they get it right now, because that's when the case goes before Judge Doty in Minneapolis. There's a couple of possibilities here. The judge could rule that these players are immediate free agents, in which case I would think the league would immediately appeal, or he could decide it belongs before a jury, and that will take a while, in which case their rights would belong to their current teams.
I want to ask you about Keith Millard, the defensive line with Seattle. I saw him play against the Chiefs on Sunday. I was very surprised to see that they cut him on Wednesday. What is the skinny behind that?
Lenny, people around the league tell me that on the plane ride back from Kansas City to Seattle, Millard got very upset with a lot of teammates on the plane about the way they played, about the way they were handling the loss, and the next day Tom Flores cut him. This is a very costly trade for the Seahawks. Not only did they give up a 2nd and 3rd round pick from Millard, but between bonus and salary, it's going to cost them almost $1 million.
Wow, talking about big money, man. Let's talk about Deion Sanders. Last week. Yeah, primetime came to agreement with both the Braves and the Falcons as to he would play with both of them, but he's got a hectic schedule. What's that like now?
Deion had a real busy week last week. He played with the Falcons for the first time this season in Washington. He flew to Cincinnati for the Braves game against the Reds on Tuesday. Wednesday, he was back at practice. Jerry Glanville gave him back his starting job. The Braves have told him, we don't want you to burn yourself out before the playoffs. Don't come to any more road games.
Don't burn yourself out. I guess he's got too much energy to worry about that. Thank you very much, Gary. See you next week.
Okay, Lenny.
The AFC has been dominated the last few years by Buffalo, but this season looks like they have more balance. The Oilers have their defensive stars back on the field. The Chiefs look stronger with Dave Craig at quarterback, and the Raiders could be 2-0 instead of 0-2 if not for their generosity.
No self-respecting Raider would ever give you the shirt off his back. So the Bengals All-Pro tackle Anthony Munoz, number 78, took matters into his own hands, so to speak. Cincinnati won the ground war hands down, or more truthfully, hands on. And led by talented Harold Green, they rushed for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. However, the Raiders flew uncontested in the air as Jay Schrader passed for almost 400 yards and 2 touchdowns. The seesaw game was tied at 21 after 4 quarters, but in overtime, the overachieving and opportunistic Bengals pounced on their 2nd straight victory.
Land at the 10 to the 15, and good on it! Loose football, and the Bengals got it! Woo! Wow!
You see this end right now. Special teams making 2 big plays today.
Johnson will hold. The ball is snapped, placed down, and booted. It's high enough. Yep. It's deep enough. It's good.
See ya.
That's it.
While the 0-2 Raiders stumbled to their 2nd worst start in 28 years, David Shula had won 2 games before his illustrious father had won 1.
Raiders. Who would have thunk it?
The thinking in Kansas City is that the acquisition of quarterback Dave Craig will help the Chiefs emerge into the Super Bowl spotlight. On Sunday, Craig's new team faced his old one, the Seahawks, and the quarterback's regular season debut in Kansas City got off to a smashing start.
Another step on a journey. Let's do it our way, one play at a time. Let's get after the rest. Let's go.
Under center is Craig. Gets the snap. Drops back to throw on 3rd and 2. He's got time. He whips it down the side. It's caught. JJ at the 40. Down the sideline 50. A foot race to the 40. The 30. The 20. 10. 5. Touchdown.
Craig connected with J.J. Burden on the game's 3rd play from scrimmage, but Craig's replacement in Seattle, Kelly Stauffer, was determined to make his own mark with the Seahawk offense. Stauffer pulled Seattle even in the 2nd quarter, and the underdog Seahawks stayed close well into the 2nd half.
We got to execute. That's all we have to do. Just like that.
They didn't expect this. They didn't expect this. They thought they had some walkovers coming up in here. They in for a big surprise. They in shock. They thought they'd be winning like 21-0.
Come on, you're putting up with your women! Come on! Defense!
The Chiefs' defense responded, forcing 4 second-half turnovers and continuously punishing the ball carrier.
It's a jungle out there, baby, and if you ain't ready to be in that jungle, you better go home.
Kansas City's tomahawk defense and stampeding ground game took over and made any Seahawks talk of victory all wet.
No more running. No more. Seattle defense.
It was linebacker Lonnie Martz who doused any final Seattle hopes.
Faking the handoff, getting a block, falling backwards, lacing a pass. It's intercepted. Picked up on the play by Martz. Down the near side, 30 to the 20. Brings a tackle. Down the sideline. 15, 10, 5. Touchdown!
In both their games this season, the Chiefs' defense has taken advantage of subpar offenses. Their first true test of the season comes this week against Warren Moon and the Oilers, and Dave Craig may have to prepare for his first real shootout as a Chief.
A man like you, a man like me, for example, is very happy right now. All right, all right.
The attitude is where it's at in this locker room. The attitude. A bunch of people had to step up today in the absence of some guys that were down or went down, and you did it. And that's the fiber of a team, the attitude. My hat's off to you. And now we got 2, and we will continue to stay where we want to stay as long as we keep doing it the Chiefs way. Hell of a job. Let's make sure we're all here tomorrow. I know you're excited about the fact we get our photo taken.
Oh, all right, Mark. Good job.
The Indianapolis Colts' itchy-twitchy feelings soon turned into an achy-breaky heart. And while these Colts are no longer pushovers, their inexperience sometimes makes them palookas. A quarterback blitz by 180-pound Darrell Lewis was met by 2 Colts weighing 550 pounds. This ton of fun went into the tank, and so too did a second straight victory. The veteran Oiler offense enticed the frisky Colts into blitzes, then ran a running back into the vacated area.
Setting up the screen for White. He stumbles. He's still on his feet. Breaks the tackle. 40. Midfield. Colts territory. Cuts back inside. He's at the 35. He's going to go all the way. At the 30. At the 20. It is a touchdown for the Oilers. Lorenzo White. 69 yards for the score.
This Sunday, the Oilers hope to leave the Chiefs like they left the Colts, achy and breaky with more heartbreak dead ahead. Coming up, more NFL highlights, including New Orleans quarterback Bobby Hebert's big day against the Bears in the Superdome. The colorful head coach of Tampa Bay, Sam Weiss, joins us on NFL Crosstalk to discuss the new and improved Bucs, one of the league's biggest surprises. And Where Are They Now features former Chargers running back Chuck Muncie in his first interview since serving a prison sentence.
Let's go back to 2 teams we've just seen highlights of, Kansas City and Houston. They're playing each other this week in the Astrodome. And gentlemen, I'm looking forward to this game. The crowd will be singing, "I love you, blue," and they'll have that guy in the Oilers cap and everything else yelling and screaming. 2 teams that last year went to the playoffs. This year they have hopes of going all the way through and winning the Super Bowl. Chris, how do you see the game?
Well, everybody talks about Houston's offense, but they have a terrific defense, especially on that defensive line. William Fuller and Sean Jones last year combined for 25 quarterback sacks, and neither of them played in that opening day loss against Pittsburgh. If the Chiefs get behind early in this one and have to abandon their running game, they will not be able to protect Dave Craig.
Well, the strength of the Chiefs is their running game, Chris, and it's been less than spectacular so far this year. But there is a reason for that. Defenses are not stupid. They're putting up a tight 7-man line, and they're bringing their strong safety nosing around the line of scrimmage also. What they're doing is daring David Craig to fill the air with footballs, and this is not the strength of Craig. But if they're going to have any chance of beating the Houston Oilers this week, he has to throw on first down. He has to loosen up that defense. He has to give that running game a chance.
Well, David Craig has on occasion thrown the ball on first down, second down, a lot of times on third down. But a couple of reasons why the running game has not gone well so far, and that is the left side of the offensive line. John Alt, the tackle, David Zott, the guard, missed most of the preseason because of injuries. Also, big Christian Okoye didn't sign his contract until just before the season got underway. He missed the first regular season. He is going to be back and running. I think this week the offense is starting to gel, and I think they will be able to move the football on the Houston Oilers. Defensively, the Chiefs match up well against the passing attack of the Houston Oilers and Warren Moon. They've got Kevin Ross and Albert Lewis back there, and I think they're going to handle that. I think the Chiefs are going to win. Nick, what do you think? You agree with me?
Well, I agree with Chris. The defensive line is too strong. I like the Houston Oilers.
Yeah, on a neutral field, maybe the Kansas City Chiefs. But at home in that dome, I've been down there too often. I know that's a tough place to win a football game. I like the Oilers.
Hey, the dome is not going to bother the Chiefs. Last year they went down there. They held Warren Moon and the offense to just 17 points. Speaking of quarterbacks, there were several quarterbacks on a roll last week. Vinny Testaverde had a career day. And how about the show Bernie Kosar and Dan Marino put on Monday night? And in the Superdome, the Saints' Bobby Hebert picked the Bears apart.
Welcome to New Orleans, baby. Thunderdome, Cajun Crunch.
Have a cold ride home.
Long ride up north. Go Saints. Cha-ching. On a
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Nothing like a Bears game, baby. Nothing like a Bears game. Yes, yes, yes.
And there's nothing like the menacing Bears stare. A pregame ritual calculated to intimidate opponents even before the game begins.
Come on, come on. Let's go. From the beginning. Haul ass down there. You haul ass. You don't get lost on anybody. You rip through the blocks. You make something happen right off the bat. Let's go.
The first half was a defensive slugfest in which neither team scored a touchdown. But in the second stanza, the Saints attacked, strapped on their helmets, and went to work. A beautifully executed double play fake fooled number 95 Bears defensive end Richard Dent not once, but twice, allowing quarterback Bobby Hebert to step up and unload for the first touchdown of the day.
Wide open, Eric Martin, 25-20, 15, he's going to score. Touchdown Saints, 52 yards to Eric Martin.
Two straight Saints touchdown passes proved to be mere prologue for the main act. A pair of defensive touchdowns as the hard-charging New Orleans defense took center stage. Ricky Jackson's direct hit on Jim Harbaugh permitted nose tackle Robert Goff to score. 1 minute and 21 seconds later, the Saints defense struck still another scoring blow.
Throws it up sidelines, overshot Lewis, and it's hit by Lewis, intercepts it down the right side. He's going to go all the way down the right side. Reginald Jones for the touchdown. 68-yard interception return.
Are you sure that Harbaugh was on the cover of Sports Illustrated this week?
Well, that might explain it.
The Saints had averted the dreaded 0-2 start that traditionally dooms teams with Super Bowl aspirations.
Saints number one today, baby. It was good when you get 2 turnovers and you score 2 touchdowns like that. That's something we try to do, is get the turnovers and try to score with it. And it worked out well today. But our guys did a great job. Ricky did a great job getting the ball out. And our defense played tremendously well today.
Due to Hurricane Andrew, Dan Marino and the Miami Dolphins opened their season on Monday night, 8 days late, but right on target.
High backs from the 25. Marino back to throw. Looks.
He fires, corner of the end zone. Touchdown! Goes to
Miami took a commanding 20-3 lead into the final quarter, and for the many who went to bed and missed Cleveland's remarkable comeback, here's what happened.
Let's get the first down as he breaks 2 tackles, gets out to the 30, fumbles the ball. David Brandon has it. He's going into the end zone for a Browns touchdown.
In the space of 6 minutes, the Browns' dog defense provided 1 score. Bernie Kosar, hobbling on a broken ankle, passed for 2 more.
Kosar to throw, looking left. He might run. Bernie's in trouble. Dumps it for a touchdown to Mark Bavaro.
The fans in Brownstown thought they had witnessed a miracle. But with only a minute 15 remaining, the miracle belonged to Miami and Marino.
back he goes in the pocket, across the middle. Great catch at the 1-yard line. Give off to Higgs. He is into the end zone for a touchdown. He went over the top over left guard.
While the Browns gave their fans late-night fits, Packer backers wiped their eyes in disbelief over their team's performance against Tampa Bay. Poor play by quarterback Don Majkowski was matched by his teammates as Green Bay literally slipped and slid and handed the game to the Buccaneers in the game's early minutes. Cornerback Ricky Reynolds' fumble return launched a spate of 17 unanswered points as aggressive defense continues to be a hallmark of Sam Weich's new team. Innovative play calling on offense is another.
Long pass to Dorsey. He slips down to the 1-yard line. What kind of play was that?
It's the kind of play the Bucs now make with Vinny at quarterback.
Blitz threat from the inside. Drops back to throw. Goes to the end zone.
He has a receiver. Touchdown, Mark Carrier. And the Buccaneers have scored over 30 points. It's been a long time.
For Tampa Bay, it's a 2-0 start for the first time in 12 years.
The Tampa Bay Bucs were the NFL's youngest team from 1988 to 91, but this year under first-year coach Sam Weich, they brought in 20 new players, including 14 veterans, 6 of them over 30 years old. Has it helped? Well, the offense has turned over the ball just once and committed just 1 penalty in the first 2 games. Chris Collinsworth is with his old coach, the man who cut him and made him a star on HBO's Inside the NFL, Sam Weich. They're now on NFL Crosstalk.
Sam, they don't give you time to shave in Tampa. Is that the new story?
Is that, do I look like I haven't shaved? Thank you so much. Boy, I could wave you one time. You give me some I just walked off the practice field. We've been getting ready for Minnesota.
You know what they say about payback. But you took over a team that had lost 10 or more games 9 years in a row. What was your first priority when you went to Tampa? What did you say to those guys?
Well, really some of the things that I said to you when you were with the Bengals and in that group, the first thing I wanted them to do was feel like I had some credibility and they could trust me. They could believe that we were going to put them in a sound situation where they could have a chance to win. I gave them the old story, which is a true one, that we're going to treat everybody fairly. In order to do that, we had to treat everybody differently because everybody's made different. Some people need to be kicked in the tail to be motivated. Others need to be hugged around the neck, and so we're going to treat them all the way we think we can get the best out of them. And then we started, I actually snookered them a little bit. I asked them a question. I said, how many of you want to be on a winning team? Well, they all raised their hands. And I said, how many of you want to win? Well, they all raised their hands. And I said, everybody that's like that, get out of here. We don't want any part of you. How many of you guys want to be part of the reason that we're going to win? And the point I was making is that you got to run the laps, you got to lift the weights, you got to do the homework, you've got to go through the emotional build-up for every ball game in order to have a chance to win. And that's all you get in this business, because if there's ever been any kind of unpredictable competition organized, it's the National Football League.
Well, at the beginning of the year, I know you released some of your more outspoken members of the team, guys like Jesse Solomon, Tim Newton, Bruce Hill, just to name a few. Did you feel like that you had to gain control over the clubhouse in Tampa?
Well, you know how I feel about outspoken people. I don't like them getting in my way of being outspoken. I don't know. I think that we just made decisions on an individual basis that what was the best course for this team to take. Some of it was, some of it involved the team just going so far in training camp with holdout players that we didn't think that they were going to be able to come back and enter into the team and us have the harmony that we wanted to have. Others we just made personnel decisions on that we felt like somebody else maybe would do a better job.
Well, the story in Tampa has been the turnaround of Vinny Testaverde. Most Buccaneer fans considered him to be a bust. What did you discover about Vinny that nobody else saw?
Well, I'll tell you what I saw. I heard all the stories, and I went through, I had lots of banquet circuits that I could sit next to somebody who could chew on my ear a little bit and tell me about Vinny. But I found one thing for sure right off the bat. Number one, God gave him a lot of gifts. He's big, strong. He's got a quick arm, an accurate arm. He can throw hard. Has the gentle touch. He's, plenty of smarts. He's got plenty of poise under the center. He's got everything that the great quarterbacks have. We wanted to put him in a system so he could highlight those things and put people around him that could give him a chance to perform. But I don't buy the one that he hasn't had good coaching. I think he's had good coaching. But I think sometimes you just move in and out of a system. You never quite get settled in. So one of the first things I did with him, when I sat down, I said, here, look at this, 5-year contract. I'm going to be here for a while. You can relax, take your shoes off, and settle in. We're going to get this thing done. And just the atmosphere we tried to set for him, I think, has been comfortable for him.
Well, Sam, quickly, the Bucs have lost 14 straight road games. This week you go play the Vikings in the Dome. Will your no-huddle offense be as effective in the Dome without the Florida Heat?
Well, I tell you what, I think the Florida Heat adds to the no-huddle offense, but the no-huddle does cause problems defensively that they don't see week in and week out when teams go back there and stand for 20 seconds and caucus before they come to the line and run a play. We'll still have it. If the crowd enters into it, we'll go back into our little sugar huddle and we'll talk privately and come to the line of scrimmage. But we like that rapid-fire, fast-break kind of offense. It's our style.
All right, Sam, thanks and good luck.
Okay, Chris, good talking to you.
Nick, Len?
Chris, thank you very much. Nick, there is a relaxed and energetic Sam Weiss, but he's 2-0 right now. You know there's going to be some downsides to the season. You think he can maintain that level?
Well, and this sort of reminds me when Don Shula came from the Colts to the Dolphins in 1970. We were a young team, we were hungry for wins, and we knew that he was a great coach, and we bought his philosophy. Sam Weiss goes down to Tampa Bay. They are a talented team. They are hungry for wins, and yes, I think they will buy his philosophy, and there will be a turnaround in Tampa Bay.
Well, if the Bucs make a turnaround, it's going to be a whole lot easier than the turnaround that the subject of this week's Where Are They Now made. One-time Chargers running back Chuck Muncie knows the glory of scoring 19 touchdowns in one season and the shame of a jail sentence. Kurt Gowdy has the story.
The thing I thought about most when I was in prison was my daughter. What was I going to say to her? You know, to this day, she's afraid I'll go back. So am I. Oh, man, I don't know. It's, I keep telling her I'll try not to, but with drug addiction, you can only go one day at a time. And although it's been 4 years, you know, it's still tough. Still tough.
Chuck Muncie's fall from grace disappointed even the most casual NFL fan. As the third pick overall by the Saints in 1976, Muncie immediately lived up to his All-American and Heisman runner-up status. But soon, rumors of drug use forced a trade to San Diego, where Chuck was rejuvenated by California and the explosive Charger offense. It seemed Muncie could do anything. The Hall of Fame seemed just around the corner. But life off the field was completely different. A trade to Miami was voided when he flunked the drug test. A year of rehab convinced the Vikings to take a chance, but Muncie had other ideas.
When I retired from football, the first thing that happened was I got my divorce papers. Sort of blew me away. I was definitely shaken up with that. And at that point, it seemed like everything that I was trying to accomplish with my sobriety didn't mean anything to me, you know. And so I dove back, you know, that was an excuse for me to dive back into the drugs.
This foray cost Muncie dearly. Arrested and convicted for cocaine distribution, Chuck was sentenced to 3 years in federal prison.
By going to prison, that probably saved my life. While I was there, I had time to think about things that were important to me. And the only thing I had left that was important to me was my daughter, and my life.
It's been said you can't make up for lost time, but Chuck and daughter Danielle have never heard of that. Although sports contributed to his downfall, they now serve as a tonic. Since his release from jail, a new horizon has appeared for Muncie. In San Diego, a telemarketing firm has given him a fresh start. As an account executive, Chuck oversees a client base as diverse as NFL properties, hospitals, doctors, and disease awareness organizations. The company has given him a chance, and he wants to give others one as well. He's enrolled in a master's program for drug counseling. It's his destiny.
That's what I'm supposed to do, because I have to pay back. I have to pay back. Right now, I'm at peace with myself. I get very emotional when I talk about it, because I haven't been at peace with myself for a long time, and I finally am, and it feels good. I like it.
I sure hope Chuck Muncie's problems are behind him, because I thought he was a terrific talent when he came into the league. Speaking of talent, I'm surrounded by it. These folks know how to make these selections each and every week. A good example. Let's take a look at last week. Yes, 12-2, 12-2, 11-3, 10-4. I must congratulate you, gentlemen, for a job well done. Now, how about for the season, although that has been brief?
Let it in now. Let it in now.
Do your bragging now. All right, but it is early. All right.
It's close.
Earlier on the show, we discussed and made selections on some of the other games. Here are the rest of our picks, starting with the games that we all agree on. The Raiders will beat Cleveland. Marinovich versus Phil Cox. Miami will defeat the Rams. Dallas will remain undefeated, beating Phoenix. San Francisco will beat the Jets. Ken O'Brien will start at quarterback for New York. Buffalo will beat Indianapolis. The rest of the games now in more detail. Chris, I'm going to start with you because you're leading the pack. We've got Cincinnati playing at Green Bay.
Yeah, Cincinnati right now, second in the league in rushing. Harold Green has become a legitimate star in the National Football League. I look for them to continue this role. 3-0 for the Bengals. Hard to believe.
You know, I got to admit the Packers have the look of one of those 1-in-15 teams from the last few years, the Cowboys, the Patriots, and the Colts. However, Bengals gave up 380 yards passing last week to Jay Schrader. I like Green Bay at home.
Well, I think that the Bengals, Chris convinced me that they have a defense. They've got guys who are attacking the football, and for some reason, David Shula looked to the heavens after the game and thanked someone. I'm taking Cincinnati.
Well, I think, as we said earlier, that Mike Holmgren is looking at that waiver wire every day for help. I look for Cincinnati to win this football game. All right, we got New Orleans at Atlanta. The Saints have allowed 1 touchdown in the first 2 games, Gary.
You know, but Lenny, I don't like their offense, and, you know, although Jerry Glanville's teams are probably the most unpredictable in the league, they always seem to play well at home. So Deion's going to be starting this week. I like the Falcons.
Well, you know, they're so emotional. The Falcons will be up high as a kite. But one thing's for sure, we all know, is that New Orleans is going to show up at one hell of a defense. I'll take the Saints.
Yeah, I agree with that. The Saints defensively just too tough, and they shouldn't be bothered by that Georgia Dome. I like the Saints on the road.
Well, Neon Deion is back, but as you all mentioned, they've got the defense with the Saints. I like the Saints as well. All right, and Nick, we got Pittsburgh at San Diego. Steelers #1 in rushing.
Yeah, you know, but San Diego has that good defense by my old coach, Bill Ironsbarger, and I love him. But you know something? I really think the Steelers have a terrific defense. They have a good running game with Foster, good quarterback in O'Donnell. I like the Steelers.
Well, the strength of the Steelers is their running game, but that is also the strength of that San Diego Charger defense. I think they'll win their first one at home.
Not a good move for the Steelers to cut Louis Lips on Thursday. However, the defense has got 12 turnovers in the first 2 games. That's kind of tough to beat. I like them to win in San Diego.
Well, I tell you, the Steelers have won 2 ball games in a row, but they have not faced a running attack like they're going to see against the San Diego Chargers. I like San Diego at home. All right, we've got Seattle versus the Patriots. Patriots didn't do well last week. 7 sacks. They also had 5 turnovers.
Tough to pick this one. You really don't know. But the Patriots were shut out last week by the Rams. So I guess Seattle on the road, this is a tough one. I'll take Seattle, though.
You know, the Patriots is their first home game. They don't get much support at home. They had to reduce the price of tickets this week to try to get some fans into the ballpark. However, Seattle may be the worst team in the AFC, so I like the Patriots.
Well, you know something, Gary? The one thing that the Patriots they do have a defense. Millen, the quarterback, is average, but they do have a good running game. I think the Patriots at home.
Well, Seattle also has a good defense. They displayed that against the Chiefs last week. I like the Seattle Seahawks.
You're an AFC West guy.
All right, Tampa Bay at Minnesota. Gary Testaverde, 22-25 last week.
This is where the dream ends for the Bucs. They haven't won on the road in a couple of years. I think it's 14 straight, and the Metrodome is a really tough place to go in and play, and I think the Vikings are a really improved team this year. It's like Minnesota.
Well, I think Minnesota's going to win up there also. They're going to be at home. Testaverde going on the road, and that game will not play well on the road for him. Defense will probably crumble. I like Minnesota.
Yeah, Vinny's going to get his first taste of trying to run the no-huddle offense on the road in a dome. We used to have to try and do that every single year in Houston. It is awfully tough. I like Minnesota there, too.
Well, I listened to Sam Weiss, your old coach, and he's got that team on a roll right now. I'm not going to give up on him this early. I think that he'll find a way to teach Vinny to do that in the dome and keep it simple. I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Then on Monday night, the Giants at Chicago. You know, the Giants haven't won in Chicago since 1962. Even you were a young guy then.
That's my rookie year. Can you believe that?
Absolutely.
You have to like the Chicago Bears at home. The Giants have impressed me with their determination and commitment. They came back in that Dallas ball game. I think Ray Hanley finally may be opening up a little, relaxing a little, and the team is responding. But I can't bet against Chicago at home.
I'll never pick the Giants again. Trust me. I'll take the Chicago Bears, period.
This is one of those games I'll pick the Giants. I don't really know why, because they seem to be really a team in turmoil. But you just get the feeling that they're not going to die hard, that they're not going to let the season get away from them. And I think the Giants win on the road.
Well, I think it's going to be the Chicago Bears. The Giants have got some people that are hurting right now. Well, that's our show for this week. A reminder, you can catch Inside the NFL each Thursday evening at 11 p.m., also Friday at 7 p.m., and Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. Those are Eastern and Pacific times. Now, for all of us on Inside the NFL, we hope you enjoyed the show, and see you again next week. World Championship Boxing returns to HBO next Saturday, September the 26th, when Terry Norris defends his super welterweight title against Simon Brown. Live, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, only on HBO.
Let him see something wrong. Okay? Come on, man, you can't let up like that. You can't give up 3 and out. Let's go. No smiling. Not over. Not over. Stay in this thing. Don't smile. Don't smile. Not yet. It's not over. Don't do it. No smiling. Wipe it off. It's not over. Keep yourself in the game. It's a long way. No smiling. Wipe those smiles off your face. Get your game face on, man. Let's got it. Let's go. All this did was get it rolling. That's 1 down. 1 down. We turn that page, here we go, and look, there's the Green Bay Packers coming to town right now. There you go. Here they come. One more thing, Sam.
This has been a presentation of HBO Sports, the network of champions.
Next on HBO. He's rude, crude, and he'll probably tick you off. But hey, he's Andrew Dice Clay, and you know what they say. Dice rules. Stay where it happens. HBO.
Jean-Claude Van Damme and HBO are double-teaming the bad guys.
He looks exactly like you.
I would never in my life wear black silk underwear.
It's double the danger.
There's 2 of them.
Double the trouble.
Where are the twins?
And double the Van Damage.
Let's do it all the way.
Van Damme times 2.
You're dead.
Watch my back.
Double Impact. Premieres Saturday night at 8 on HBO.
On the next episode of The Larry Sanders Show, HBO's new hit comedy series critics are calling hilarious.
I would love to see how you do a nude scene.
I should tell you I'm married.
Some talk show guests come on the show. Other talk show guests come on to the host.
I really do find you attractive.
I trust you. I don't think I trust him.
I'm flirting right there. Look at the way I'm grinning. Here, I'll freeze frame it.
Oh, for Christ's sake, this is like watching the Rodney King tape.
Is Mimi a no-no?
Have a great show.
The Larry Sanders Show, starring Gary Shandling. This week, Larry welcomes real guests Mimi Rogers and from Seinfeld, Michael Richards.
I myself have done it with Gregory Peck. Trust me, I felt nothing.
Saturday at 10:30, only on HBO.
The following movie is rated NC-17.